Hello and welcome to the Character Forge Inspired Edition, where the members of DungeonsDeepRPGs attempt to recreate both real people and fictional characters using the rule sets and resources for D&D 5th Edition. In this episode, we present our recreation of the legendary Australian conservationist Steve Irwin. If you ever watched television in the 90s and had access to Animal Planet or the Discovery Channel, you are likely familiar with the animal-loving, crocodile-wrestling Aussie Steve Irwin. Through his various television appearances, especially his show The Crocodile Hunter, he touched the hearts of millions and educated an entire generation on the importance of animal conservation and the excitement of nature. Possibly the most recognizable of Steve Irwin's antics was his uncontrollable urge to wrestle various animals, especially crocodiles and alligators. It was this hilarious escapade that inspired us to create this build. We'd like to preface this build by saying that this is by no means an optimized character, nor is it intended to be. We have designed it to be an entertaining facsimile of Steve Irwin that can hold its own in combat as a grappler, but is more about the roleplay of the character. Accompanying this build are a set of optional role-playing rules that you can use to help you play the character more accurately. They will be covered after the build progression, so stick around for those. This build will be a level 10 character and is assumed to have no magic items and no support from allies. Before we can even begin to discuss the classes we plan to use for Steve, we need to establish our race. Steve Irwin was a human, obviously. However, we don't want him to just be any kind of human because he was a very special, one-of-a-kind type of human. So, Steve is going to be a variant human. This way, we also get the grappler feat in a natural way. I mean, the man was a natural at holding down bucking crocs, so it makes sense. The grappler feat states, you've developed the skills necessary to hold your own in close quarters grappling. You gain the following benefits. You have advantage on attack rolls against a creature you are grappling. You can use your action to try to pin a creature grappled by you. To do so, make another grapple check. If you succeed, you and the creature are both restrained until the grapple ends. Creatures that are one size larger than you don't automatically succeed on checks to escape your grapple. You can't be a grappler build and not take this feat, it's just way too good. Probably one of the toughest parts of this build was deciding how to stat out Steve in order to be both true to the actual person, but still functional and conducive to the purposes of the build. Here's what we came up with. 16 strength, 14 dexterity, 10 constitution, 8 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 12 charisma. We put his highest score in strength because although he didn't look ripped, that man was in peak physical condition and could wrestle 1,000 to 2,000 pound saltwater crocodiles into submission. Strength is also the stat associated with athletics and grapple, so it is his primary ability score. We placed his dexterity at 14 because Irwin was quick on his feet. He often dodged out of the way of lunging snakes, snapping crocs, and other dangerous creatures taking a swipe at him. Also, this allows him to use medium armor, which we will discuss more about in a minute. His constitution score was a tough one. The man got bit. A lot. He claimed to, quote, never carry anti-venom, and that he, quote, never would. We struck a deal with the score and decided that a 10 would be good because he doesn't get a bonus, which could be represented from his refusal to use anti-venom, but he doesn't get penalized either. Now, I know a lot of you are looking at the intelligence score, but we had to have a dump stat, and this one was it. Steve Irwin was a wise man in many ways. He understood what effects humans could have on the environment and the ecosystem, and had the wisdom to discern how he could best assist in resolving these issues, not by solving the problems directly, but by educating the world and bringing the overlooked problems to light so that people far smarter than he could fix those problems. We gave Steve a 14 in wisdom so that we could meet the multiclass requirements and use our very few spells with relative success, as well as to represent the wisdom that he had. As for charisma, I don't think there is a single person alive who wouldn't smile when watching the lovable enthusiasm of Steve Irwin. He charmed the world into loving about and caring about animals, even ones as deadly and arguably ugly as crocodiles. And besides, look at this face. It screams charisma, even if it's the goofy kind. Now that stats are covered, let's talk class progression. We shuffled through a lot of ideas as to what classes Steve Irwin would be in the context of D&D 5th edition, but nothing really stuck out to us. We thought maybe a Beastmaster Nature Cleric would work, but the flavors just didn't really match up with the man himself, nor did they play well to the Grappler concept. When we examined his personality and old episodes and clips of the Crocodile Hunter, we realized that the man was a ranger, but not the kind to herd an animal, so the Hunter subclass was out. The Beastmaster subclass didn't mechanically help the build, but because he had a dog on a lot of his journeys with him, you can take levels in it if you like. The Rangers in Xanathar's Guide to Everything didn't match up at all. But still, the man is a ranger. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, we decided to use the ranger as the flavor profile for his grappler build and settled on the fighter as the primary class. 2 levels of ranger would grant him the normal abilities of a real ranger, aside from magic of course, and 8 levels of fighter allow us to build a really effective grappler. Let's get a better look. Steve's first level should be in ranger with the Outlander background. The skills you should select for him are nature, perception, and animal handling from ranger. Outlander gives you proficiency in survival and athletics. Proficiency in athletics is extremely important for this grappler build. Now, Steve Irwin would never wield a weapon, especially against an animal. So, much in the fashion of the Crocodile Hunter, we're going to arm him with a stick. You can see this in action here. And here.
We realised just how big she was. I'm going to try and get a lasso on, and she proves just how difficult that can be.
And here. And here.
I'll just utilise a stick. That way when he crunches down on it, it'll break and it won't hurt the crocodile.
If you aren't playing in Adventurers League, go ahead and buy some nets, which you will be using to restrain beasts.
It's very important that we get her out of the trap and release her straight away so we don't intimidate our big male that we're after.
If you are in Adventurers League, wait until you've made some gold and buy those nets. As for armor, Steve Irwin didn't really wear any. He went out in his traditional khaki outfit and wrestled some of the most dangerous animals known to man. However, you need some kind of armor or protection in this game to survive. Since we aren't raising his dexterity any higher than 14, you should go with medium armor, but nothing that would be like a full set of armor, as that wouldn't really be in the spirit of Steve Irwin. For first level, take Scale Mail, and then purchase Breastplate later on. At first level Ranger, you gain Favored Enemy. Steve Irwin's favored enemy will be beasts. This ability lets him track down beasts so that he can better observe them in the wild. You also get Natural Explorer. We weren't really sure what kind of environment to classify the Australian outback as in the context of 5th edition, but we settled on desert. Feel free to choose something else, as Irwin was a world traveler and knew his way through many environments. Second level will also be in Ranger. For Steve's fighting style, you should take Archery so that his nets get a +2 to hit. You also get 2 first level Ranger spells with 2 spell slots. To add to the flavor of the build, you should take the Animal Friendship spell and Snare spell. At third level, you multiclass Steve into Fighter. First level Fighter gets another fighting style. You should take Defense since it's the only one that really applies to the build, but also helps boost our already low AC. You get Second Wind as well for some self-healing abilities. Fourth level is Second Fighter. You get Action Surge for a second chance to grapple a target if needed, or other possible actions. At 5th level, take the Battlemaster subclass of Fighter. This subclass is particularly interesting because you get several maneuvers that help to better flavor the build to be Steve Irwin. From Battlemaster, you gain Combat Superiority, which grants you 3 maneuvers from the list with an additional gained at higher levels, and 4 Superiority dice, which are d8s with which to perform the maneuvers. The 3 maneuvers that we think flavor the build the most are Maneuvering Attack.
Okay, when I call it, I'm going to go on his head, you're backing me, right? Okay, so I'm going to go in first.
Goading Attack.
You want this piece of meat? Come on then. Come on then.
And Evasive Footwork.
He's gonna grab me. I've got to run for cover. Woo! Straight up a tree. Look at this.
Additionally, you get Student of War for proficiency in an artisan's tool of your choice. I'd say take Navigator's tools so that you can find your way should you get lost while stalking beasts. 6th level, you gain an ability score improvement. Take the Prodigy Racial Feat from Xanathar's Guide to Everything and give your athletic skill Expertise, which doubles your proficiency bonus for the skill. Take Stealth as your new proficiency so that you can better sneak up on and stalk beasts. At 7th level, you get extra attack for another opportunity to grapple a target should the first one fail. 8th level is another ASI. Increase your extra strength score to 18 for a +4 strength modifier. At 9th level, you gain another superiority die, increasing our total to 5. You also gain another 2 maneuvers. We chose Distracting Strike and Rally. Distracting Strike can be used to give the next attack against a target advantage. Rally gives temporary hit points equal to the superiority die roll plus your charisma modifier. Additionally, you receive Know Your Enemy, which is a handy ability and flavors well with this build because it allows you to know specific details about a creature like some of its stats, AC, hit points, and class level if you spend a minute studying or interacting with it. 10th level is another ASI. Increase your strength score to 20 for a +5 strength modifier. By 10th level, your athletic skill should have a score of 13, and all of your attacks on grappled targets should be made with advantage. If you can succeed on the first grapple, you can use the second action to pin the creature at the downside of being restrained, which gives enemies advantage to hit you and gives you disadvantage on dexterity saves for the duration of the grapple. Obviously, this doesn't fully flesh out the character, but it does make up the entirety of Steve Irwin. The rest of the build is really up to you. However, we encourage you to build in the spirit of Steve Irwin, and not to add anything that doesn't flavor well with his character and personality. Post down below in the comments how you'd finish out the build. We'd love to see. Now, the real interesting part of this build are the optional role-playing rules we have created to go along with the build. If you truly want to play Steve Irwin, use the following rules while role-playing to help bring him to life through the build. Number 1. When encountering a beast, you cannot deal lethal damage, nor can you tolerate others dealing lethal damage to said beast. Number 2. Stalk any beast you encounter so that through Know Your Enemy, you can learn more about the beast before you attempt rule number 3. Number 3. When encountering any beast, you must accomplish one or more of the following options. A. Befriend the beast using Animal Friendship spell or Animal Handling skill. B. Restrain the beast using either your grapple, snare, or net, or any combination of the 3. C. Only if you believe the beast is especially dangerous, observe from a safe distance, flee if necessary. Number 6. Regularly call things a little beauty. Say regular Irwinisms like crikey as frequently and appropriately as possible. Steve Irwin was a champion for animals. He taught an entire generation the value of treating animals with respect, kindness, and love. His ideas for animal conservation were revolutionary and brought to light many issues in modern conservation. He left behind a legacy that won't soon be forgotten. For us tabletop nerds, what better way to immortalize someone than to turn them into a D&D character? Well, folks, that is it for today's episode of the Character Forge. Let us know what you think of our build in the comments. If you have any ideas for builds you'd like to see us cover, let us know down below. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. Thanks from all of us here at DungeonsDeepRPGs for watching. May your dice be blessed, and we'll see you next time.